Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring a fascinating frontier. Honestly, it feels like it's straight out of science fiction, but is very much real. Happening right now, we're talking about the silent war against wildlife crime and how artificial intelligence is stepping up as this formidable new line of defense.
That's exactly right. We've gathered quite a stack of insightful reports, some really compelling case studies from the front lines of conservation. And our mission really for this deep dive is to distill the crucial insights. We want to show you how this cutting edge tech is, reshaping the battle against poachers, and also touch on the ethical considerations it raises and, well, what the future might hold for these innovations.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit.
Yeah.
We've all heard about poaching, right?
Uh-huh.
But the reports we looked at, they describe it as a silent war, unfolding across these vast remote terrains in Africa, Asia, even parts of Europe. Poachers are often armed, highly organized,
Right.
and the traditional methods, things like ground patrols, informants,
Yeah.
they're just reaching their limits against this kind of threat.
hmm And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how conservationists and technologists are actually joining forces to tackle this. The core problem has always been, well, the sheer scale of it all and the stealth involved in illegal activity. This is precisely where AI offers a transformative solution. It gives us systems that are fast, tireless, can cover huge areas with, minimal human input, and they're already saving lives in some regions. It's quite remarkable.
So what does this new line of defense actually look like? On the ground, we're hearing a lot about smart cameras and also drones armed with AI. Let's maybe kick things off with the cameras. They're often called trap cameras or camera traps.
Yeah.
How have they evolved? What makes them smart beyond just like sensing motion?
Right. So traditional motion-sensitive cameras, they've been staples in wildlife monitoring for years. We've used them forever. But these new versions, they represent a really significant leap. They have built-in AI chips. So these smart cameras can distinguish between species. They can detect human presence, identify potential threats, all in milliseconds. They do this using something called convolutional neural networks, or CNNs.
CNNs, right.
Yeah, think of them like maybe a digital art critic who studied millions of paintings. They've learned to spot patterns like a specific brushstroke or a signature, or in this case, the unique way a human walks versus, say, a giraffe. Even in tricky lighting. That training on thousands and thousands of images lets them recognize things. It's not just reacting to any old movement.
Ah, okay. So intelligent recognition, not just a simple tripwire. And here's where it gets really compelling for me.
Mm-hmm.
How these cameras can operate entirely off-grid, powered by solar panels, using network like our cell phones, basically.
Exactly, GSM, or sometimes LoRaWAN, which is a long-range, low-power network, perfect for remote sensors, or even satellite links to send alerts out. And yeah, some infrared sensors or thermal vision, crucial for night detection.
Right.
That's really the core idea. The key features making them so effective are things like real-time alerts sent straight to ranger teams via mobile apps, maybe radios. They use these human-animal classification models trained specifically on local species. And crucially, they perform processing right there on the device. It's called Edge AI.
Edge AI.
Yeah, and that significantly cuts down on false positives. You don't get an alert every time a leaf blows past. This makes them super useful in national parks with difficult terrain, maybe few roads. What's really groundbreaking isn't just their smartness, it's their autonomy and isolation. They're becoming these tireless, unblinking eyes that don't need a human constantly watching a screen, turning vast wilderness into, well, a hyper-monitored zone.
Okay, so we've got these fixed points covered with smart cameras. But like you said, poachers move. What's the answer for that dynamic on-the-move surveillance piece? The reports paint this picture of the eye in the sky, drones equipped with AI. How do they change the game?
Right. Drones provide a totally different layer. Surveillance, yes, but also active pursuit potential. They can recognize movement patterns, detect vehicles, spot groups of people, and they can even track animals or humans by their thermal signatures. Heat.
From the air. Wow.
Yeah. And some drones operate autonomously, flying pre-programmed paths, often during the night, crucially, and they relay live video directly back to command centers.
So they're not just flying eyes recording things, they're intelligent observers actively processing info. The AI on board can spot unauthorized campsites, maybe fires, follow individuals based on heat signatures, flag behaviors that look like poaching. It makes you think, doesn't it? Imagine being a poacher, thinking you're hidden by darkness, and an AI drone spots your body heat from, hundreds of feet up.
It's a complete shift in the power dynamic. Absolutely.
So what stands out to you about the sheer scale of coverage you get when you combine these technologies? Cameras and drones together. We read that in places like South Africa, Nepal. Drones have already really disrupted poaching syndicates, making patrols faster, more precise.
That's right. The combined effect is powerful. Faster response times, better targeting of patrols. It makes a huge difference.
Okay, it's one thing to talk about the tech in theory, but where is it actually making a difference? Like tangible results on the ground. The case studies you mentioned highlight some compelling examples. Maybe let's start with Zambia.
Sure. In Zambia's Luangwa Valley. Now, this is an ecosystem under immense pressure from ivory poachers. Historically a real hotspot, the deployment of smart cameras there by an organization called Resolve and its partners has been critical. They documented several key poaching attempts that were actually thwarted thanks to early alerts from these systems. Rangers were able to intercept before wildlife was harmed.
That's incredible. A direct impact saving animal lives.
Yeah.
Does this create new challenges, though, like for the rangers having to suddenly deal with all this real-time data coming in?
That's a really great question. And yes, it absolutely does. It means new training is essential. Rangers need to learn how to interpret and effectively leverage this flood of data. It's a skill shift, but the potential payoff is huge. Look at India, for instance.
Okay, what happened in India?
In India's Kanha Tiger Reserve, AI-assisted drones proved invaluable. They help track suspicious vehicle movements, particularly at night. And within months, there's a measurable reduction in illegal snare traps found and fewer poaching camps discovered.
Wow, measurable reduction. That's significant. And you mentioned an interesting example from Europe, too, right? In Romania.
Indeed. Yeah, in the Carpathian forests of Romania, AI cameras were initially put in mainly to detect illegal logging, which is a massive problem there. But interestingly, they also started picking up human intrusion in sensitive bear habitats. So now the system is actively used in wildlife corridors, too. It shows the versatility, you know? The tech was intended for one thing, but proved useful for protecting wildlife, too. It shows how adaptable these systems can be.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly promising, almost like a silver bullet. But the research wisely brings up the ethics of surveillance in the wild.
Yeah.
I mean, when you deploy AI cameras, drones across these huge wilderness areas, what kind of tough questions does that raise? Especially maybe with the people who live near or even within these protected zones.
Yeah, that's the crucial counterpoint. When we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to ask, who is being watched and why? In some areas, these cameras, they don't just capture poachers. They capture indigenous peoples carrying out traditional activities, local communities, tourists, people who have every right to be there. And then there are questions around data ownership. Who actually controls these vast troves of surveillance data, especially when conservation AI often relies on private funding, tech firms.
Right. And you mentioned false accusations earlier. Given the high stakes here, I mean, anti-poaching can be dangerous work.
Yeah.
What are the consequences when the AI gets it wrong?
Yeah.
And how are these systems being designed to try and mitigate that specific risk? So local communities aren't unfairly targeted.
Absolutely. The risk of misidentifying individuals or flagging innocent behavior as suspicious, it's very real. And it could lead to serious problems, eroding trust, breaking down cooperation between conservation groups and local people, which is vital. The reports really emphasize that transparency, informed consent, and active community involvement are crucial, absolutely essential for ethical deployment. It highlights this critical balancing act, right? For all new tech, really. How do we use powerful tools for security without, accidentally infringing on privacy? Or creating new forms of digital colonialism where outside tech dictates life in these regions?
Digital colonialism, that's a powerful phrase. And speaking of how the AI actually works, the research also dives into training the AI data sets and bias. Because no AI works without training data, right? So if that data isn't perfect, how does that impact the system's ability to actually protect wildlife effectively?
Precisely. Yeah, you've hit on a key point. Conservationists have to feed thousands, maybe millions, of labeled images into these models to teach them the subtle differences between, say, a ranger on patrol, a potential poacher carrying specific gear, and just a passing antelope. But image bias is a very real concern, a huge one. If all your training data comes from just one specific environment, maybe grasslands in Africa, the system's accuracy can drop significantly when you deploy it somewhere else, like a dense forest in Asia. An AI trained only on African wildlife might really struggle to identify, I don't know, a European brown bear correctly, or tell it apart from something else.
Okay, so the solution then is more data, better data, diverse, open source data sets that actually reflect the true complexity of global ecosystems.
Exactly. Diverse and openly shared data is key. There are projects like Wildlife Insights and another called ILAR-BC that stands for Living Image Labeled Archives. They're specifically helping to collect and share exactly this kind of labeled data. The goal is to improve global AI recognition for conservation efforts everywhere. It has to be a collaborative effort.
Right, a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Now, for listeners who are curious about the specific tools actually being used out there,
Yeah.
the reports mention some widely adopted systems. What are some of these key platforms making a difference right now?
Okay, yeah. There's TrailGuard AI. These are quite clever. They're discrete, smart cameras, often embedded in things like tree bark or fence posts,
Hmm.
used widely across Africa. There's Earth Ranger. That's more of a real-time monitoring platform. It brings together data from various sensors, cameras, ranger patrols. It gives a kind of comprehensive operational picture. SMART, that's SMART, is a free software tool specifically designed for ranger patrols, and it integrates these new poacher detection alerts. And Wildlife Insights, as we mentioned, is that crucial cloud platform, hosting millions of labeled wildlife camera images, vital for training and improving these AI models constantly.
And it's not just about reacting anymore, is it? I saw that some NGOs are now using AI tools to actually predict future poaching hotspots, combining camera data with things like GIS, geographic information systems, those sophisticated digital maps, and weather patterns, terrain models. That feels like a huge leap forward, shifting from just reactive to truly proactive.
It really highlights the evolving sophistication, doesn't it? It's moving beyond just detection. And this brings us nicely to the future of AI and anti-poaching. The research suggests we're really just at the beginning. What kind of truly groundbreaking advancements can we maybe anticipate in the next, say, decade?
Okay, get ready for some seriously futuristic concepts here. The reports predict things like autonomous ranger drones using swarm intelligence.
Swarm intelligence, like multiple drones working together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Coordinating automatically to cover vast areas more effectively than a single drone could. Also, sound-based AI. Imagine microphones in the forest listening,
Listening for what?
detecting specific sounds like gunshots, chainsaws, even animal distress calls in dense forests, often getting an alert before anything is visually confirmed.
Wow. That's impressive. What else?
Well, there's the more controversial possibility of using facial recognition to identify repeat offenders, which, as you can imagine, brings its own whole set of privacy debates back into focus.
Big ethical questions there.
Definitely. And perhaps most impactfully, the potential for deep AI collaboration with local communities. Maybe turning villagers into empowered citizen rangers, seamlessly integrating that invaluable local knowledge with advanced technology.
That integration piece feels key, combining high tech with deep local understanding.
Absolutely. This deep dive has really shown how technology is fundamentally reshaping the way we defend the world's last wild places. From tiny AI chips hidden in forest cameras to autonomous drones patrolling the skies, it's this constant evolution driven by innovation but also by urgent need.
Indeed. And what really stands out to me through all of this is how these tools, while incredibly powerful, they still require that essential human element. You still need the brave rangers on the ground, the visionary conservationists, the diligent ethicists asking the hard questions, and crucially, you need the local communities involved, engaged, and respected to truly make a lasting difference. The tech alone isn't enough.
Yeah, that's a great point. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Perhaps it's that the tools we develop to solve our biggest global challenges like wildlife crime, they often come with their own complex set of new questions, pushing us to constantly reevaluate that balance between protection and privacy, between technological advancement and ethical accountability.
Which raises, I think, an important question for you to mull over. As AI becomes more and more integrated into our world, not just in conservation, but everywhere in daily life, how much surveillance are we as a society willing to accept for a perceived greater good? And where do we draw the line? How do we protect individual privacy and prevent those unintended negative consequences? Definitely something to think about until our next deep dive.